Hey man, we had a super dope time recording this episode that we just recorded. This is about to be part two of that because we had a lot to talk about that we didn't even get into because that episode just took a crazy turn, but a crazy turn in the best way possible.
Facts.
And like we were talking about, Joe's been gone for a couple weeks. He's gonna tap into a little bit of that situation, what's been going on, what he's got planned coming up, what he's been going through in that time. Not going through in a bad way, but just what's been going on. And just to even tap into the relationship thing that we kind of left the last episode off on, like just the idea of making sure that both people in the relationship are happy and are both kind of seeking that peace, you know what I'm saying, and just the dynamics of these relationships. And I just want you to kind of take it away, Joe, on that.
No, that's what's up. Um, it's been a busy month, literally since the start of the year, and it all started with one of the main reasons I live in Vegas is because my wife's sister lived here for I think 16 years, and her family moved here about probably like a year before we started um, talking. And when we got married and I got a remote job, I said, "Why the hell not? Let me. Why don't I just go work out of Vegas?" And I've been doing that for the last 2 years. And for the first year, my company didn't know. I just worked 4 in the morning until like 1:30 in the afternoon every day. Um, and then I got an opportunity to go back to my previous employer, and I told them straight up, "Listen, I live in Vegas. I'm going to continue to live in Vegas, continue want to work in East Coast hours, just because I'm so used to it." Um, so fast forward 2 years, and the beginning of this month, her parents moved back to Orlando. Beginning of January, whole family, parents, niece, sister, the dog, everybody. And
Even Fido.
yeah, and then so then I start talking to her about what about us? My job is there, my circle of friends is there, everything I've known for the last 20 some years is there. And then we start discussing like our lives. And one of the things we agreed to before her family said, because her family moving back was kind of abrupt, is that I needed to establish some kind of life out here, do things, meet new people, hang out with people, and do things. Because without that, I'm literally still living my complete life in Florida. Once I found out her family wanted to move back, I kind of gave that up. And she brought that up, and it really hit me. Like, yeah, I really just like I banked on us just moving back when they moved back. And so this is where we get in the relationship talks. And her friends came in town, and it was honestly thankful for her friends, Clyde, Josh, and her sister came in, and I got a chance because wifey was working, got a chance to talk to them and kind of really reiterate what she said, and I found out how much sense it made. And so I'm over here looking at like I want her to reverse her whole life, um, and go back to what's comfortable for me, just because it's comfortable for me, rather than me advance my life out here and help her be comfortable, which is essentially making it comfortable for me to live out here.
Mm.
Um, and that's something that I realized that, sometimes we look at ourselves like, yeah, but am I happy? Like, what am I doing? Well, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. And like, you really got to take a step back and see what they've been doing as well. And all that led me to, all right, before I left to Orlando, I said, all right, when I come back, I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Before I try to pressure her to move back, and she even said it, before she considers moving back, she wants to see me try to do something out here. And I feel her like, I mean, y'all know, I'm here on the weekends all the time. Like I go watch sports by myself. But for the most part, but I'm good. Like I'm good in my own thing. But I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm relying on that too much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's holding me back as a person. And maybe 2 years of doing this, I don't see it. So she's still at my age, turning 39 this year. She's calling me out for my lack of growth. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Despite how amazing it would be to move back. And if that happens, it might. She said she didn't say it would never happen, but she wants to see growth in me
Mm-hmm.
before I automatically just default to moving back. And
Yeah,
that hit me, and I was like, damn,
that's some real
like
stuff, man.
I'm
Yeah,
still
man.
getting tested to this day. And that's true. So now So I go to Orlando, and this is we'll wrap this up. I mean, I wrap my story up quick, but we can keep going. I go to Orlando, and I'm exhausted. There's so much I did, but there's so much I didn't do. There's so many people that I wanted to see. So many people I want to spend time with. So many people that didn't spend enough time with. And I saw myself, if I move back, it's a full blown another full time job. Just
Just to
spreading my
maintain
social time.
relationships. Yep.
Yeah, maintain relationships. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, I'm here for 3 months without it. I go there for 1 week, and I was like, oh man, this is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that Orlando trip, about 2 days before it came by, I said, you know what? I'm gonna start doing things differently when I get back. Like normally, I would plan. Y'all know I plan a while around wifey's days off, so I
Mm-hmm.
can be off. I plan to be available when she's available, and that's a good thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'll still do that, but I also need to do some things just specifically for me.
You know, I got a real quick point to that. You know,
Shoot,
it's so funny
shoot.
because this Sunday that just passed, so 2 days ago actually, I did that. And I feel like I do it, but I never do it with the full intent of today. Like basically when I left my house, I knew I was taking time for myself, but I didn't have any obligations. I didn't know where I was going when I got in the car. I ended up at a bar with my laptop, with my headphones, and I was just doing stuff on the computer for about an hour and a half. Then I left the bar. I didn't know where I was going from there. Ended up in a shopping plaza, got a few things, you know what I'm saying? And I just spent the day just with no obligations.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Just to wherever you felt.
yeah, and it's needed, bro. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie, it's
and
needed.
you think about it. You're in a relationship where you live together, and you're in a place where it's just primarily you and your partner. You don't have a circle around you immediately, someone that you spend every single weekend with or days during the week with. So you have to continue the balance of maintaining all the time together, but you have to make time just for you. And it doesn't have to be planned out.
Mhm.
Because I think y'all ever seen 500 Days of Summer?
I haven't. I haven't.
Stupid ass emo movie, but it's the disappointment of expectation versus reality. So you do and do and do and do, right? And you set expectations because of how much you do and how well you do for people to do back to you. And not everybody is you. And the disappointment comes when the reality hits and you realize, like, why am I expecting like everybody to be exactly like me?
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that's when I was like, okay, so just mixing in a little bit of me time. Like I'm gonna go to the gym when I want to go to the gym, not when I'm gonna be home in time or fit in my work schedule. I want to spend 2 hours in the gym every day. I'm gonna do that
Mhm.
when I can make it happen. You know what I mean? If there's a game night that we're gonna be on, I want to be on and not, and if that's me establishing my life out here, it's setting kind of standards and parameters for me to do things on my own accord while also finding the balance to keep my wife happy and spend all the time we possibly can. But that's why I told her. She was like questioning, like, should I do we do this? I was like, no, you keep doing what you're doing. I need to readjust what I'm doing to make sure that I'm content with enough I'm doing for me for everything I'm doing for you. And I think that there's many relationships where there's one-sided things, but nobody's asking it to be one-sided. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that one person is setting those one-sided expectations because of how much they do. And I continue, that's what I mean. Like this last month taught me that I still have not grown to my fullest potential. And
I don't think
I'm
you ever will. I don't think anybody ever will.
no, I
You
don't
ever
think
get
anybody,
there.
yeah. I think yeah, and that's what one thing I want to mention the last episode about my father being young and watching him still grow up. And I've still watched him grow up in the last 10 years, and he just turned 70, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I've still grown up in the last 5 years, and and I can imagine how much more I'm gonna grow
Yeah.
in the next 5 years, just let
They
alone
say the youth is wasted on the young.
Mhm.
boom. But
Mhm.
it's like it's an
You, you
everlasting.
know what else they also say?
Hmm,
Yo, Joe, our glasses are kind of the samesies.
Amazon.
I buy direct.
And I get it from Amazon.
Oh, look at it. They're samey types.
We got the same headphones now. I mean, we're clicked
Yo,
up.
facts. You see
We're
how we all
clicked
got the
up.
same headphones? Like we some dorks for real, bro.
Yeah, we clicked up now. Lester got an arm on his microphone.
Yeah. Oh, y'all see my new arm? You see the
Yeah.
swivel? You hear me? I feel like I'm about to freestyle on the radio or something, dog. Like, bro, you know what it is? Lesteroni, cuz.
Oh man.
But yeah,
No,
man.
but
I really I love all that, man. Just because it's so funny, bro. I I, I honestly just chalk it up to luck to a certain point because there's no way I'm this lucky, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I got a boy and a girl. I'm married, like happily married, like with such a like dope relationship. And me and my wife always joke that like when we hang out with other couples, we steal their love force. You know what I mean? Because like when we were first dating, bro, like not when we were first dating, but like probably like when we was first married, everybody that we hung out with as couples, bro, they would break up like 8 seconds after we hung out. And we were like, oh my gosh. Like it got to a point where we were like, nah, man, this is wild. There's no way.
hmm
You know what I mean? But that was just a stupid little side story. But the point I'm trying to make is
no, but
we
let's shout out how many years y'all been together.
yeah, we've been together since '08, married since 2011.
So 15 years now.
Yeah, this year's
Yeah,
15
and that's
years.
what I mean.
Awesome.
Like I'm hitting the 2.5 year mark. Quincy, total time together.
Total time, shoot, we're about yeah, we're about to hit 3 years.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Do you remember year 3? That's
Yeah, that was
2011.
well 2011, yeah, but that was when we got married. Um but year 3 of the marriage was kind of crazy because that's when that was like when my son was just kind of born.
Mm.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And he came out of nowhere, bro. Like, yo, so yo, so my wife was on birth control, right?
hmm
But she took antibiotic, you know what I mean? And she didn't know, like, and for
It
everybody
cancels
out
it
there,
out.
yeah, it cancels it out. Like, dog, and just in though, like literally the exact days that she took the antibiotic is when she got pregnant.
Sheesh.
So I'm real Puerto Rican, dog, like super Puerto Rican. Cause dog, there was a little tiny window, and
You
I was
impregnate a caterpillar.
facts, dog.
Yeah, that's
But
hilarious.
Yeah.
but yeah, man, that
No,
was
but
that was
year
that was
3, as far as your
you
growth as people together, because that's what I was kind of going back, finishing up with is not only are you gonna continue to grow, but your partner is, and
Mhm.
they're gonna grow out of things they used to do. They're gonna grow into things they never did.
Mhm.
Same as you, and it's like you sometimes you only look at it as you and not also what your partner is growing into, and that's an important thing to grasp.
yeah, that's definitely something I'm real cognizant of, and I think it's a big reason why we have such a dope relationship because I always knew from the beginning that what we were just talking about, that she needed her kind of thing, because I always had music, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I always like basketball, you know what I'm saying? I have a couple of things that video games, like there's a couple of things that I can spend my time with. I have friends that, we could play video games, we could go hoop, you know what I'm saying? But she was more like kind of to herself. And it's like, it's cool if you're to yourself. That's not an issue. But you definitely got to have things that you could do, by yourself. Because that's, to me, bro, like, I feel like the most growing that anybody can do, and the most, like, it's almost, bro, it's crazy because to me, it's almost like a drug. Like, being alone
Mm.
and then being alone for a long time, bro, where it's just you and your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, some people, they can't handle it, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's something that they got to have their mind going on something. Like, I feel like that's why a lot of people kind of create problems themselves. Like,
Yeah.
they just kind of give themselves things to kind of distract them throughout the day. You know what I mean? Because we all know people like that. We all know people that they're, either if it's a coworker or
Those are
somebody in
kind of
your
people
family.
that if you're late, they're asking you to hurry up because there's no way they can wait in the car in the parking lot for you by themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
I got a quick story of experience like that hit me hard. 2015, 8 years ago. Yeah, about 31. Probably some of the craziest shit in my life ever happened on my flight to South Korea for work for 30 days. Um, we worked in a factory that I could talk about it now. That we tested the chips in the Apple phone, but it was a secure facility. So before we walked in, we had to leave every single piece of electronic in the front. And when you went into work, there was no TV, there was no radio, there was nothing. 10 hours a day, 6 days a week for 4 weeks of nothing, no distractions, nothing to watch, nothing to listen to, barely anybody to talk to because we're all working on different systems, and just me and my thoughts for that amount of time. That first week was uncomfortable. I didn't think I would think I was gonna have to pull the plug. I can't do this. I can't work on this. Even to this day, I have to have something playing. So it's not like I changed, but I adapted. And week 2, 3, and 4, I learned the most about myself I've ever learned. The most about what makes me tick, what makes me aggravated, what makes me depressed, what gives me joy, what gives me motivation. And I use those things now. I still remember to this day, like certain things, if I need to be in a certain mood, I know how to trigger it. And being alone in my thoughts for that amount of time, I don't think I would have ever learned that anywhere else.
It's
and
wild,
it
man.
kind of, but real quick,
Go
just
ahead.
like I was saying, just to see what you feel about it, Joe. It's kind of like a drug almost, right? Like the
Mhm.
feeling that you kind
Yeah,
of get when you're in that zone where it's just
yeah.
kind of you and your thoughts, and your outer self kind of just lines up with your inner self. Man, that's kind of like a crazy
No,
thing even with itself. But
I
go ahead,
still do it
Quincy.
to this day. Yeah, we'll bounce to Quincy real quick, but just for quick example, I was flying out to Vegas from Orlando on Friday night, and one of my traditions, I go to on the border at Orlando Airport, and I have a couple shots, a couple drinks, because, like, especially on a Friday night flying home, like I was feeling good. And I had like all these videos and movies and music loaded up and articles on my iPad. I sat at that bar with my headphones on with nothing playing for 2 hours and just sat there like, I'm done. Like I did it. And I just sat there. I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to watch. I just want to sit in my thoughts and just reflect on the last week and a half I had in Orlando. I did it for 2 hours. I still do it.
Yeah, no, I remember I went on a cruise by myself, and I used to tell people about this, and I remember like the reactions I would get.
Cruise,
People be like,
wait. Cruise by yourself?
I went on a cruise by
Wow,
myself.
that's major.
And I'm
That's
gonna tell
major.
you something, bro. That was probably the most fun I've ever had in my life, because I ended up connecting with like, so basically the cruise was like a 2-person cruise for 3 days or whatever. So it was like either people was there with a friend by themselves or with their partner. That was it. And so like when I went, I ended up running into like a group of like probably about two other, no, I'm sorry, it was like 6 7 people total, but like everybody was in twos obviously. And bro, we had the time of our life, dog. I still got those people on my social medias today. They
That's
tap in every
wild.
blue moon.
That's
And it's
dope.
just like, that for me,
Y'all shared
dog,
a hell of an experience, and a probably
No,
a
for
pivotal
sure.
moment in all your lives. So
I
that
hear
y'all
bro.
people
can be
like
bonded
watching
by that.
movies by themselves and doing like go to theme parks, but going to cruise, that's big.
Bro, that shit was, and
That's
this was like when I
big.
first got back to Florida. So I was fresh out of my relationship, and it was just a stressful time. I was finally like kind of getting things together, and I just needed that like break.
Yeah,
And I just was like, yo, I'm gonna go on a cruise, bro. And
yeah.
I went by myself, bro. And I'm telling you, bro, I had the time of my life. I mean, like memories, like on my Snapchat and stuff that like will never get old, bro.
That's up.
I feel that, man. Yeah, that there's nothing like a cruise. I know that doesn't really have to do with what we're talking about, but I just thought about cruising, and
Yeah.
cruising to me, bro, is the best kind of vacation you could take, because it's just, you don't got to worry about nothing, bro. Like, you don't got to check into a hotel, you don't got to drive anywhere.
We're
You
gonna
don't.
plan the grounded cruise. the cruise.
Yo, facts, man. That man, I love cruising, but like you said, Quincy, I didn't go alone, but me and my wife went on a cruise, and we went to Mexico, and we did an excursion to see the Mayan ruins and stuff, and it was just super dope. And it's something that like we always think about, and it's always like such a dope memory, and just being able to go somewhere like that kind of taps into what we've been talking about a little bit in the background and what we got to tap in on a later episode, but that ancient apocalypse on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix. Put it in the air, put it on everybody's radar. If y'all see that, check it out. It's super dope. And it's just something to make you think.
Yeah.
Fact. Speaking of Netflix, man, there's a lot of dope like documentaries on Netflix that don't really get to shine. Like, you got to kind of find them. But I know I was talking to y'all about a couple others, man. I know I just recently watched this Grass is Greener documentary, and it was basically kind of just exploiting the fact that, like, marijuana was perceived to be illegal for so long, and then it was like basically shaped to the public eye that
Demonized.
minorities, yeah, it was demonized, but it was shaped to the public eye that minorities were the ones that had it. It made them do crazy
Yep.
things, and it was very demonized, like you said. And I know y'all haven't really got a chance to see it yet, but man, I definitely recommend that, man, because it's 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 messed up. Like, the way you think about it, that like there's so many individuals locked up right now, like, that
Yeah.
we have all this weed legal and
Yeah.
people making millions and billions of dollars off this plant. Where there's people right now, there was one guy in the episode that served 14 years for a nickel bag.
Nah, bro.
Bro, it's just crazy to even think about that. We can even be talking about a situation like that about a plant.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, how can somebody tell you you can't plant something
You
and
know what?
use it? Like, it's so wild to me, bro. Like, the whole concept of like the little script we go along with, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like on everyday life is such a comedic thing to me. You know what I
Bro,
mean?
I
I,
got backlash and I don't care. When Brittany Griner got released, I don't give a shit who we gave up. If she was locked up in a Russian prison for some weed,
Yo,
for some fucking weed, I don't give a shit who we give up. That's stupid. And everybody's like, oh, she knew what the laws were. Why are there still laws? I don't care what country.
and it's like what
That's so
Quincy was saying,
stupid.
the perception, you
it's the
know.
programming,
She's
bro.
a black she's a
So
black
stupid.
athlete, she's a lesbian, she got
Mm-hmm.
tattoos and stuff, dreads. Oh, you coming over here with weed. It's that whole dynamic. There's so many things at play. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's not in a literally funny way, but it's comical when you think about it, bro. Like
Mhm.
just even the that she had to even go through something like that
Yeah, man.
based off of some
I
weed,
have two marijuana charges in my history that continue to haunt me to this day through my career, through everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's legal?
which is
It's a
crazy
slap in
to
the
think
face,
about, bro.
bro. It's a slap in the face to so many minority families because, when you think about it, bro, if you think about any police shooting, like, and I'm just kind of taking a turn with it, but if you think about any police shooting, what's the main thing that they use to try to make it okay?
Yeah, the
Oh,
weed
we
bag in the
found
car.
Yep.
exactly. We found
I
THC
saw a
in the
little nug. I saw a
yeah.
kick, you know what I'm
It's
Mhm,
saying?
always that, and it's like how can you even say that when there's literally industries of people making millions off of this
mhm.
same thing, And then on top of that, um, it's it's crazy because I was talking to my fiance the other day, kind of about the Tyree Nichols situation and how most of the cops were well not well yeah actually most of the cops now that we discovered that there was a sixth cop that
5
was
out of
white,
6, yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
but the five black cops, none of them had any empathy to this individual when it was like, yo, if you think about the facts of the situation, why is that? Why is that? You know what I'm saying? There's so much programming that even them as cops, they didn't
Exactly.
see him as a human being. You know what I
It's
mean?
that
They saw,
script I was talking about,
you
bro.
know,
Like
Mhm.
people get so wrapped up in the everyday and the minutia of all the rules and what they tell you in school and what what's on TV tells you,
Mhm.
what the news tells you. People get so wrapped up in that bubble and they create their own bubble that they
Yeah.
trap themselves in. It's so
Yeah.
crazy to me. And it's just wild to think about how people just take the human element out of things. They take common sense out of things, and they look at it through the point of view of, let me look at it as a Republican. Let me look at
Yeah.
it as a Democrat. Let me look at it as an employee at this job. Let me look at it as, you know what I'm saying? They always want to look at it through a lens that's not human.
Yeah.
It's like the people that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and anybody that I do business with, the people that I do repeat business with, and the people that are the ones that I notice are more successful are the people that do whatever they need to do business wise. They're not attached to anything as far as the emotional side of it. And they just know, I got to spend this money to do this, and I need to get to that next step. And this is what I got to do. Whatever the case is, any way you slice it, you got to do things like a freaking human, yo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? At the end of the day, everybody that looks at it through that point of view and just understands the steps of everything, and it goes back to even the relationship aspect of the things we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at it from the point of view of, that's a person that's living their life and they're going through what they're going through. You know what I'm saying? If we both look at each other and think that about each other, and then we start from that common ground of, hey, he's a guy going through something, I'm a guy going through something, let's make this as easy as possible. People aren't
Mm-hmm.
thinking like that, bro. It's the
It's
programming,
too
exactly
easy,
like you
man.
said.
It's
It's the
too easy.
programming, man. And like I was, another thing that I mentioned, was like, we always kind of see, you know, black men especially treated as if they're criminals, or if they're going to do something illegal, or if they're going to do something dangerous. And if you really think about it, you have black people in a situation where they are financially kind of struggling and doing what they need to do to get by. The simple fix for that, for the generations of nonsense that's basically happened since slavery,
Mhm.
is reparations. But
Yeah.
we never have the money for reparations. But then we get COVID, and you can give out millions of PPP loans, and millions of
Wow.
supplemental checks.
Wow. Yeah, that's a
You
great
know what I'm
point.
saying? It's like, it's always that little dark cloud hovering over everything, where it's like, bro, you can solve the problem by giving people a little bit of a leg up when y'all have beat those people down for so many generations. Like, even going back to the grass is greener thing, weed is legalized now. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people in jail that can run a great legal marijuana business, but because it takes $200 to $500,000 of liquid capital to start the business, they'll never be able to do it. And not many people are going to loan them the money because of what's on paper. You
That's
know what I'm
actually
saying?
amazing. Yeah.
So it's just like, it's a crazy, crazy situation that,
Yeah.
it's annoying when you really think about it, because that as logical and as simple as it is, that's just not going with the script,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate
Yo,
the insight
real
that.
quick, because
Go ahead.
I got like a crazy kind of like concept, but stay with me and kind of get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Kind of going back to what you were saying about what black people go through here, and just even white people here. If you notice, how do I say this? So check this out. I kind of feel like, to a certain degree, wherever we're from, like whoever you are, wherever you're from, that's where you're supposed to be, because that's what's optimal for you as a person. You know what I'm saying? I always think about Steve Harvey talking about the first time he went to Africa, and
Mhm.
he was talking about how he felt like he was home, but he's never been there before, but he felt like he was at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that's always been like one of the things that pops in my head when I think about this concept that I'm talking about. It's like, we as people, we were, you know, we ended up somewhere, and we became a culture, civilization, whatever, at that place for a reason.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? This displacement that's been happening, that and has happened to a lot of people, and even to a certain degree, the Europeans that came to America. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
A lot of white people here in the United States, they get a lot of skin diseases, cancer, a lot,
Mhm.
and a lot of skin cancer. You know what I'm saying? That's something that's real common. And a lot of white people, they always having to put sunblock on and
Mm-hmm.
make sure they wear hats, long sleeves, things like that.
Yep.
Why? Because they're in a climate
They're
Mhm.
that
not used
they're
to.
not used to being in,
Yep.
just
Mhm.
historically. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
And that's something that I've like that's something that's never gonna go back to
Mm-hmm.
how it was. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
that's something that we will never know. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's just something that I be thinking. But the more I think about it, the more it just makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, that's for sure. I mean, I know me personally, bro, I actually had was planning to go to Africa the year of COVID. Like in my like I hadn't like actually secured everything, but in my mind I was like this summer I want to try to go to Africa. And me, I've never been either, but I just have a feeling that that's how it's gonna feel. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
something tells me that that's how
Yeah.
it's gonna feel.
Yeah. It's crazy, man, because I have like a weird like relationship even with like being Puerto Rican, just from the point of view of like, and I mean, y'all let me know if this happens a lot in y'all cultures and y'all races, but like with Puerto Ricans, bro, there's a lot of separation just even within the culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like even in Puerto Rico, there's light skinned Puerto Ricans that don't like black Puerto Ricans, bro. And we're all
Mhm.
Puerto Rican. We're on the same island. We all talk the same. We're all pretty much the same. It's like how dumb you gotta be to think that way. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And then even just the concept of like me, I was born in Puerto Rico. That was my first language. I had to learn English when I came over here, but I've been here for a long time, so I'm very Americanized. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that was always a thing with my family back in Puerto Rico. They always kind of rejected me a little bit and kind of shunned me because I'm the gringo. You know what I mean? Like I'm the American guy. I'm not really Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, oh yeah, like you're not really part of the family because you from over there.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then even
Yeah.
like
A lot of cultures.
yeah, and then even like a lot of just Puerto Rican people that I knew here, they looked at me like, oh, you're not Puerto Rican, you're not with us because you like to hang out with the black guys. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
You're not really Puerto Rican. It's like, okay, so I'm not Puerto Rican because I don't want to be on the vibe that you're on. You and your little group of people, you're
Yeah.
gonna tell me that I'm not what I am just because it doesn't fit the mold of what you think it should be.
Mhm.
And it's just so many little things to dissect in that, and just to think about how much we all deal with just even within our own cultures before we even step out and have
Mm-hmm.
to deal with other people, bro.
Mhm.
It goes back to what I was saying, bro. Like that whole just kind of like shock and that jolt, and we're just all here. Like I feel like that has to factor into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for sure.
Because I look at it, bro, honestly, like I don't think this is ever gonna get better to the point of
Bro, at
like
all. At
I feel
all.
like right now is like as good as it's gonna get. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's pretty transparent.
One
Some
thing.
people don't like other people, and
Yeah.
they just kind of let it
That's
be
just how it's
known,
gonna
or
be.
don't hang out in places where that kind of people will be there. And it's like,
Mhm.
bro, there's just a lot of messed up people out there.
Yeah.
That's what
Mhm.
it is.
That's what it is.
And they're just gonna keep being born. It's like you get rid of this generation, like a lot of people think, and I think it to a certain degree, it's like as certain generations die off, certain ideas die off. You know what I'm saying? But evil and just malice is not just gonna go away. You know
Nah.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I have a great point. At the end of the day, bro, um, you know, I'm just kind of going back to like black people, obviously, but at the end of the day, black people are painted as criminals often when, coming from a black person that trades stocks, the government
Mm-hmm.
is the real criminal, bro.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because
And
Yeah.
it
It's
even tapping into
everybody on
what
the outside looking in.
yeah, and it's happening to what you're saying right now, Quincy. That's something we talked about in the chat too. Is like it bothers me like OD that I know you. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we're like really good friends, and I know the type of vibe you're on. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I know the type of things you do. I know the type of person you are. How much you value like volunteering, helping out. You value community. You study a lot. Like the type of person you are, and just to think that somebody will look at you and think that you're a thug or
Yeah.
some kind of something just because they just looked at you like, bro, it's just crazy to me that people could be that stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they
You
like
know
we're
what?
really
I
just
want to
walking
add
amongst people like that.
something
Mhm.
great that attributes to that I experienced in Orlando. And like I said, like I don't really look at things this way. Um, for me, race has always been a difficult subject to look at just because I never grew up with race barriers. Like
Mhm.
had black best friends, had a black like really best friends my whole life
But
growing up.
let me interject.
Yeah,
You have a lot of big city experience growing up,
yeah.
which is something that me and Quincy didn't
Oh,
really
you didn't
have.
expand to that kind of diversity.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? We
Mhm.
we came from those,
yeah,
we get splattered into the poor community wherever we at.
yeah,
You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And the poor community is the same shit everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It don't change. When I moved to the United States, I lived in Texas first, bro. Where I lived at in Texas was exactly where I lived at when I lived here in Florida as a kid. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It was the same vibe, bro. Little dingy apartments,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm saying?
No,
Same
but what
thing.
I'm getting at is I never saw unequal, in people.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's why I've been able to be like best friends with any, and not just black, we're just on the subject of black people.
Yeah.
So we have um my boy had his birthday last Saturday and we had a brunch. And there's a place, Eola Lounge, down by Lake Eola, in the middle of like the city, in the middle of like the most biggest places on Lake Eola, downtown Orlando. And we walk in, and I'm telling you, not 100% colored people, it was 100% black.
Mhm.
And we sat on the table outside, and we had majority Spanish people, but we had a white person with us, we had a black person with us. And I'm like, you know what? They have to have their cut there and their
Mhm.
spot there for just them because of how everybody reacts when there's a big group of them in any other place where it's just a bunch of white people,
Mhm.
Yep.
you
Yep.
know? And it was an amazing environment. They were playing all the tracks. We were having a blast. I went to the bathroom. I was getting gas stuff for my New Balances. Like it was my environment. Like we were
Mhm.
having a blast aside from the service being bad, and that's attributed just to the
The
establishment. That has nothing to
Yeah.
do with the
downtownness.
people. Yeah, because you
Yeah.
can go next door, stubborn mule, all white people still service bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they
But
if they
you
would have
touched
proved
on
that with
something. You touched on something interesting there, Joe. Like,
hmm
just and that's something that I experienced growing up. Like, kind of just talking about what I was just talking about is how black people could be so accommodating and so like I feel like there's just an empathy there that you don't get with a lot of people.
oh
That
yeah,
black
Mhm.
people just it's even a generational thing. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
just for me, from the outside looking in, and just my experience with black people, and I definitely want to toss it to Quincy to get
Mhm.
his take on it too
yeah.
after. But it's like I've always felt like this acceptance and
Oh,
yo,
big
just
time,
be
bro.
whoever you are as long as you cool, you know what I'm saying? As long as you're
Yeah,
being a good person and we chilling, it don't matter, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And that's
Mhm.
something I didn't even get from my own race, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And just like what do you think about that, Quincy?
I feel like there's just I saw this YouTube video. Basically, it was like of a group of white people. They were being asked some very like racial based questions that were very sensitive, but they had to be honest. And they were like basically moving along the lines of do they agree, strongly agree, disagree, etc. And one of the questions was like, "Are you proud to be white?" And a lot of them were very uncomfortable saying yes. And one of the girls that went to disagree, she basically said, when I think of you know being proud and black, I see how much that black people have gone through and the courage it takes and the what did she say? The persistence it takes to when you're being beaten down constantly, um to still be look that way and be proud,
Yeah.
hmm
and I feel like there's a kind of a sense of excuse me, like humbleness in most, if black people, that we give that southern
Yeah.
hospitality, you know what I mean, we give that. And don't get me wrong, you're gonna go somewhere and get the girl that's just aggravating, and you're gonna get bad service. But I just feel
hmm
like as a people, naturally, we just have a certain hospitality about us.
It's the energy, man.
Empathy.
That's
It's
what,
the empathy thing,
like
yeah.
the energy we felt there
Mhm.
and the amount of fun we have. I wish we could have that anywhere we went. Why
Mhm,
can't we have that anywhere we're at? Why does it have to
mhm.
be a specific place on the side where only colored people are at? Like that's the only way we could have that kind of enjoyment. I have never had any fun anywhere else downtown like that.
Yeah,
I
and
got
go.
an interesting take, real quick. As a kid, yeah, and I think you mentioned it, Joe, that you saw everybody as equal. As a black kid, it's funny to think back as a child, and I did see everybody as equal.
Yeah.
You know, um, life kind of taught me the reality of the situation and kind of where I stand in that on that spectrum when it comes to just people. I'm
Mhm.
not saying I stand behind or below anybody, but I know where I stand. And it's I know we talked about it before, but the whole situation with the robbery when I worked at the bank, that for me was like the
Yeah,
tipping
the main
point.
reason they fingerprinted you and all that shit.
That was
Like,
Yep.
the tipping point of like me
bruh.
becoming like a grown black man,
Yep.
Hmm.
because I had to understand the situation from a different perspective.
Do
Yeah.
you
And
feel like that was like when you fully understood the how the programming affects the way people perceive you, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so this is what y'all are trying to do.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So that situation had me look at everything, eh, like anything and everything I do in life, especially dealing with just other people outside of my race. I see it a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody's bad because that's not the case, but I do pick up on certain things very quickly now. And it's just crazy. Like, the anxiety, I get dealing with police and stuff like that. I got, pulled over, not pulled over, but I got into an accident about 4 or 5 months ago, like 3 in the morning. And, honestly, if somebody else had pulled up, it probably wouldn't have gone as good
Yeah.
as it went. But a black officer pulled up, and my initial expectation was that even though he's black, it's going to be a bad situation,
Yeah.
and he honestly made that situation so much better than it could have been.
Could have been.
And
Yeah.
He
just for
treated you like a
having,
person.
he
He
treated me
gave
Yeah.
you
like
the
a
grace.
person, bro. He gave me
And
so
that's
much
you know
grace.
what, and that's why I feel like that's something I've lacked. Like I've liked to see that racial barrier, even when if it was, I'm a guy with the last name Fernandez in a corporate world my whole life, and with a bunch of Smiths and Johnsons, and I get in the room and I'm the only Spanish dude who's 5'6" with a beard and got muscles and wants to talk about the same shit y'all talking about. But I just thought it was lack of experience. But at the same time, like because I never saw race, I never saw race against me. And that's something I always knew I lacked in understanding. And that's why
Mhm,
when y'all talk, I appreciate y'all talking. I was like, we need to talk about this on the pod because people like me never see it that way
mhm.
because I don't see it that way. And that's
Yep.
not a good thing.
And it's something we were talking about in the chat too, and in that same conversation is just the fact that if you don't experience that on the daily and really feel the effects of it, you know what I mean? Because even obviously I don't have the direct experience and I can't even pretend that I have it, but I've been in those situations with my black friends and seeing it firsthand. Like it's not happening to me, but I'm like, dang, bro, they're literally treating them different than they're treating me. Like,
Mhm,
and we all got caught doing the same thing, or
Yep.
sometimes I got caught doing something worse than they were doing, you know what I'm saying? And
mhm.
they were just sitting there, you know what I'm saying? And they're treating them like like you're approaching Marilyn, Charles Manson or something, I'm
Yeah,
about to say
exactly.
Marilyn Manson, dog.
No,
But yeah.
it's all the programming, man, and it's been that way. That another documentary. I don't know if y'all seen it. It's called 13. It's on Netflix, and it basically taps into the 13th Amendment and how the loophole of it was that all men are created equal, blah blah blah, except prisoners, and basically that prisoners can be slaves essentially,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
so it's
That's
all
why
the
they started.
programming, bro. That's why
Wow.
they
The
started
big loophole.
the big loophole, and then if you think about it, you go into the war on drugs, the three strikes law, all
They
these
found
things
a way to
aimed
arrest
to
them
arrest
more.
black
And
people and make
yeah, wow.
modern day
Wow.
slavery.
Yo,
That's big, man.
Mhm.
leave him with the other, because I know you said you had another documentary too. So leave him with another one, because we're definitely gonna keep tapping in with Black history and just
Mhm,
getting a little
Yeah,
deeper.
honestly, these talks are dangerous.
mhm,
But I think the three of us, Quincy alone, but I think Lester and I have the understanding that we don't have the same views, you, and the same experiences as you. but we
Mhm.
have similar, and we've learned from our experience how you and other black people understand. And you know, you can use colored and whatever, but it's black people. It's a big deal how much black people got to deal with.
Oh yeah,
And at
man.
the end of the day,
It's a
bro,
big deal.
just real quick before you lead us off, Quincy,
Mhm.
it's crazy because at the end of the day, I'm cool with Quincy just because he's a good dude. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And
same thing.
the human side, like we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? I don't look at him and say, "Oh, I'm gonna be cool with him because of X, Y, and Z or whatever." It's like when we met, the energy was dope. You know what I'm saying? It was real, genuine, human vibes. You know what I'm saying? Which is weird
Mhm.
to say, but bro, you really don't feel that with a lot of people.
Yeah,
It's crazy to
same
think about.
thing.
It's
Yep.
Mhm.
crazy to think about that you could be with somebody and just the energy's so off because they just don't know how to just
Hmm.
we're both
Yep.
just people. Let's just vibe naturally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. So, okay, before I give you the third documentary, I just want to give you this fact. This is, this is the first thing that they mention in the 13th documentary, and that's how they get into the show or into the documentary. Basically, it says America is home to 5% of the worldwide population, but 25% of prisoners. So 25% of the world's prisoners, and black people make up 12% of the American population, but 1 out of 3 prisoners. Like, you get what I'm saying? So
Numbers don't lie, man.
numbers is crazy, man. But
And that goes back to what Joe was saying about the perspective and not kind of being there firsthand to see it.
Yeah.
Mhm,
But you hear that stat as somebody that has never dealt with that kind of community, and you say, "Oh, nah, bro, crime is crime." These people are just doing bad things. It's not that easy, bro.
facts.
If you haven't been in that situation, you do not understand what that's like.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
why when Quincy will talk to us, and he'll let us know, and I'm like, not a lot of people talk like that, man, and that just opened my eyes. That's why I don't got much to say. I just read.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, like I never looked at it like that, just because I never personally like that. But that awareness is important. You can't be oblivious to how it's continuously happening, and
Facts.
nothing's changing. There's a reason things are the way they are today.
Big facts. So the third documentary, man, is called "Who We Are," a chronicle of racism in America. That is pretty dope. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't want to give any misinformation. I actually want to rewatch it. But I do remember it being very powerful when I saw it, and there was a lot of good information in it. But those three are definitely good ones to tap into, and there's a lot more. But those are, I would say, some good, safe starting places because they're not like super pro black, but they are very factual. And if you like facts, they present them very well.
You want awareness.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're
Eh,
gonna definitely tap in and like I said, dig a little deeper into it. And like Joe said, it's definitely you know it's muddy waters that we're getting into, but I hope that everybody that's listening knows that the intention that we coming with the human side, the
Mhm.
same thing we talking about, the grounded thing, everything that we always talk about. That's the kind of energy we coming with
Yeah.
when we talk about these kind of things. So you got to be able to just open your mind and understand and do what I was talking about earlier. You got to understand that the person you talking to, they're a person dealing with their life and their reality, which is different than yours. And if you
Mhm.
come at that situation from that point of view off rip, that'll help you just understand it even
Yep.
more.
Big facts. And I appreciate y'all because, for everybody out there, this was not my idea. This was,
Yeah.
their idea.
It
And
was mostly
I
Joe,
was,
definitely.
yeah, and I was
Oh,
definitely
big
on,
time, bro.
game with it because this is something I am very passionate about. I seek knowledge in this pretty often, and
Mhm.
there's a lot more to tap into. I actually recently mentioned that I'm about to listen to Malcolm X's autobiography for the first time, so
Mhm.
that's pretty dope. But I'm very passionate about this, so I appreciate y'all for being willing
Oh,
to and
man.
open to tap into it.
No one can talk about this in a firsthand experience like you can, and being able to have these talks on the pod. I know there's a million people in this world like that feel like me, And it's unfortunate. Like I said, it's not a good thing that I feel this way, that I don't see race
Mhm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
don't see a race barrier. It's important that I do see it because it exists and it happens. And
Mm-hmm.
people like you and people like everybody I know in my life get affected by it daily with every single thing that pops up. And there's
Mhm.
something almost every day. And I can't become numb to it. That's
And,
that's I think that's a cop out, becoming numb to it. Nah, it's
Mm-hmm.
a
yeah,
cop out.
and the dope thing, Joe, honestly, bro, and I'm not just saying that because he's here, because he's my friend, but Quincy's a super dope person to talk to about this
Oh
because
yeah.
he's a person that went through the hardships. He saw firsthand like those communities that are affected by the things that they talk about in these documentaries. You know what I'm saying? I saw Quincy firsthand have a resume that in my head I'm like, damn, bro, with how young Quincy is and all the stuff he got on his resume and so much specific experience that he has for the things that he's going for. Why is it so hard for him to find something?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's just and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like just knowing him and knowing how hard he works, how he don't give no excuses, how solid he is. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And just to see
Right.
him having to go through things in a different way and having to
100%.
go, having to climb around the hill when somebody just went through the bridge. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, he has a super unique perspective because he broke through and just said, bro, honestly, he just said, fuck y'all. I'm making this happen. And if you're not gonna let me come in, I'm just gonna break through the window and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Big
You know what I'm
fact.
saying? And that's the perspective that's gonna be dope to hear because that kind of thing, you can't say that he's copping out or something or anything that he's saying it
Mhm.
because oh, poor me. Nah, not poor me, nothing. I'm coming from the point of view of I made it happen and I'm still making it happen, but I'm still gonna tell you how
Yeah.
unfair this is.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. That's facts.
But yeah, man, super dope. Couple of episodes. We definitely coming back rejuvenated after the holidays and just a whole bunch of things going
Yep.
on. We got a lot of dope announcements coming just as far as music and creatively and just things that we're working on professionally even. Thank y'all again for tapping in. Anything y'all want to leave them with?
Grounded mix is coming soon. I recorded my first one. I don't like it, but I recorded it.
Hey,
Uh,
that's some good news
yeah.
though. You recorded your first one.
Um,
Hey.
so, first grounded mix coming before the end of February. Check out SoundCloud. It's gonna be SoundCloud.com/grounded mixes. It's gonna feature a lot of Lester's up and coming tracks and features. Quincy's up and coming tracks and features, some of Soundband beats, and some of the daily rotation here on the radio. It's coming. I'm saying it here because I got to hold accountability.
Yep, and if anybody got anything they want to send to us for us to, try to throw in the mixes or listen to or anything like that, we got the email, everything grounded at Gmail. You can hit us on Instagram, you can hit us on YouTube. We're pretty much everywhere. You can even just Google the Grounded Show. It'll pop right up. Quincy, lead us off, my guy.
You already know. Joe already mentioned it. I got Elevate dropping on February 24th.
Hey, and
So
the
y'all
video,
stay-
and the
and the
video,
video and the
first
video.
video in forever,
Let's
my guy. I'm
go.
Yeah,
excited for
man,
that.
I'm excited. And I got a few other joints, man, in the works right now too. So I'm definitely getting excited for this next few months. When it comes to the music tips. So definitely stay tuned to that. And I mean, if there's nothing else, man, you already know the vibe. Stay grounded.
Stay butter. I'm gonna say it this time. Stay butter.
Yeah, me.